Good evening and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Joshua Solomon, and with me as always is the Honorable JP Marzullo. How you doing, JP? Getting warmer?
It is getting warmer,
You
but
got the air conditioner in?
yeah, when the house was built, they put in central air conditioning, so I don't have to mess with it every time.
Oh, you're rich. I don't have central air
it just
conditioning.
was, yeah. People up here, I can remember when we
I
had
do.
our house built, the builder would say, you really don't need air conditioning because it's only 2 or 3 weeks out of the summer where it's really hot. Now I'm moving up from Annapolis, right?
Did you
so
say, but global warming?
yeah, we're right in the middle of global warming. Yeah, so it's nice having this weather. But of course, about 3 days ago, though, I think I had a flannel shirt on because it was very cold, right?
Yeah, I got cold during the rain the other day. But.
Yeah.
Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades is sponsored by the Wilson Hill Pistol Club. We are at 1732 Lakeshore Road, right here in Manchester, New Hampshire, the oldest sports shooting club in the state. We have open membership. We do not have a waiting list for membership. The website is wilsonhillpistol.org. If you're watching online, it's in the bottom of your screen. You can go there, you can get the training schedule, and you can get information about how to contact us. Our regular meetings are the first Wednesday of every month, except for July and August. We take a break for the summer. So you won't be able to come to a membership meeting in July or August, but you will be able to contact the board through the website if you're still interested in joining. So that's that. We got that out of the way.
Good.
Tonight, we have Steve Negron.
Hello.
How you doing, Steve?
Good, sir. How are you? Good to see
Good.
you.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, JP. How are you, brother?
Good, man. Good, man. So it's a kind of exciting time coming up now. I'm not talking about the riots, by the way. I'm just talking about...
Yes,
Yes.
2 more days.
Two
We got
more
the riots
days.
scheduled for Saturday the
Yeah,
14th.
exactly.
So.
But anyway, with all the people moving different positions in the state, running for Senate, Pop is running for Senate now, and these people jumping in, and it's nice again to have the Democrats having a primary.
Right.
I think it's going to be cool.
It is.
It's going to be fun.
And it changes the dynamic completely when you have an open seat that you have to have a primary for in both parties, right?
Yeah.
Historically, for so long, you had Ann Custer that had it for 7 terms, right? And it's tough to unseat somebody because they've got the mechanism in place and they've got the funding in place, as we all know is so important. But now that you're going to have an open seat in CD1, you have an open Senate seat that's happening. So it's going to be pretty exciting over the next couple of years what's going to happen in our great state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, we had Dan Innes on a couple of weeks ago trying to get him to say that he was going to run for Senate. We got
Right.
pretty close. But he wants to announce it, I think, on a show that doesn't draw as well as we do, the Jack Keith show. And that's probably why I was a little worried about doing it here. Too many
Sure.
people would rush and give him money and stuff like that.
Right,
So,
right.
Exactly.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, Dan is a great guy,
yeah.
and so it's going to be interesting who's going to come out of the woodwork. Certainly, we know Scott Brown, has already said that he's going to run for this seat. So, former senator from Massachusetts, and he lost 1 bid in 14. Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Republican Party, both nationally and in the state, how they're going to align themselves and which way the chips are going to fall. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
So are you saying you're not running?
So I've been married. We just had our 33rd wedding anniversary on Friday. If I want to get to 34, no, it's we did it in 18 and 20, and Senate is certainly a statewide race, and it's about money. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Who can be able to draw back in Washington, and who does? In this case, not the NRCC for the congressional race, but the Senate Republican Senate committee. Who are they going to anoint well and get behind? So it is going to be a dog-eat-dog world out there, and everybody's going to have to go to Washington and bring the prospectus and why it should be them. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have more than one Democrat declared?
Yes.
Yes.
So right now you got Chris Pappas.
Yeah.
And for the Senate seat, I misspoke. I was talking about CD1, but I think there's going to be some others that are going to come out for that Senate seat. It's really funny. Nobody, the guy who's so quiet is the chairman of the New Hampshire Democrats, right? Yeah, he hasn't said much yet, and it's going to be interesting what happens, right? Because he kind of gotten a little bit of flap with the National Party, in the last election, with the first and the primary and all those kind of things. So I think there's a little bit of sheen that's being lost with him right now. So we're going to see how the New Hampshire Democratic Party stacks up. Certainly Chris is a favored son, local boy from Manchester and
He's Greek, and
absolutely.
He's got a great restaurant.
He does. Even though he makes great chicken fingers and mudslides, it's really funny. He's so good that he actually kind of isolates himself from DC. None of that DC stink sticks to Pappas, and he's very good at it. So whoever's going to go into CD1 in that open primary is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they've come out to say who's going to run for governor. That's very interesting. So I think maybe they just aren't going to play in that round this time around.
Well, they got they put who they thought was their best bet last time, and I think Governor Ayotte did very, very well. And so I think a lot of people are just sitting back. A lot of Democrats, not only in New Hampshire but across the country, are kind of licking some wounds right now, and they don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what's their guiding star.
It's really pathetic because we've been telling them for years how to get votes, and that's get off the trans issue, get off the immigration issue, right? I mean, it's not like they don't have the information available. We've been telling them how to win elections, and we've shown them, and so. Like you said, they're licking their wounds.
They are.
But they're still doubling down on all of these issues.
Yeah, which is amazing.
That are killing them.
Right. Even now, what you're seeing in L.A. with Governor Newsom, and the mayor, right? So you have to ask yourself, if you took away those issues, right, the trans issue, the border issue, forget with the budget issue, what do they have? What do the Democrats stand for? Well, I got to tell you, I saw Senator Fetterman today, and he's
too.
And I never thought I would say this. He's probably the only Democrat that is making any sense at all.
Yeah, and I like the way he dresses.
He's got a hoodie. He's doing his what, but he's
doing his
certainly
thing.
is challenging his party.
He's got a great haircut.
He is. He's being reasonable. He's being middle of the road, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've said it here before 100 times. Back in the '80s, I can remember when Reagan and Tip O'Neill, would get together. They're complete opposite sides on
everything,
on darn near everything.
Yep.
But they could sit down and have a reasonable conversation with each other, and common sense prevails. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those common sense Democrats don't exist
Correct.
anymore.
They don't. And
it's always about conflict. We are programmed to hate each other.
And it doesn't matter whether you have a good idea or not, right? And we as Republicans, we sometimes are afraid, even ourselves, to look at an idea or a position from a Democrat. And even though it may be a good one, we're hesitant to say, because we'll eat our own. Right? We'll eat our own. We'll look at someone like, what are you talking about? Why'd you agree with that person for? I say, well, governing is hard, right?
Yeah.
Governing isn't just throwing rocks at people, or grenades. Or beating them with paper.
Molotov cocktails.
Right. It's not that. Governing is supposed to be hard. Governing is supposed to be meeting of the minds. Governing is always what was intended by our founding fathers, right? It wasn't always supposed to be, the mob rule. That's not what it's about.
Right.
And so when you have to look at governing, that means you say, okay, I'll get 82% of what I want. They get 78% of what they want. Then we'll get to something, right? Right now, it's like kids in a playground. My ball, my rules, my game, and if you don't want to do with me, then I'm going home.
Right.
And both sides do that.
Sure.
And you cannot move the ball forward by doing that right now. So
no, it's very true. It's really turned into a food fight.
Yep.
Without the food, but it's turned into craziness. I mean, you look at what's going on in L.A. The thing that's amazing to me is what people don't seem to want to understand or want to even think about is these are very well organized protests. And they're going to be all across the country this weekend. In fact, some of them are starting now. They're in Chicago now. And they have these signs that have been made up, ready to go. And we need to get to the bottom. Both sides need to get to the bottom of who's sponsoring this. And I wonder if even the higher people in the Democrat Party don't know. I don't know. It looks to me like one big push for anarchy.
Right.
It's
funny.
It's
We all, I think you did too. We all lived in the '60s, especially 1968, where our country was really in this thrust of unrest. Right, Martin Luther King was assassinated, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the riots in L.A.
Yep.
The thing that looks at me when you look at, not that riots are good because they're not, But when you look at how they were assembled in '68, and it was just a bunch of people with some cardboard and taking some, paintbrushes and making their own signs. You look at today, it looks like Kinko's is working overtime, right? Because all these signs are all the same.
Yep.
They all have the same language. And look, I'm part Mexican, right? And I understand if a Mexican writes something in English, right? Just the way my grandfather used to. You got to say, Abuelo, what was that? What are you trying to say here? This is perfect English. And all these signs.
Right.
Perfectly. And so I understand
That's a good point.
It is. You look at it and say, how is this done without anybody, as you to your point, behind it?
Right.
It just doesn't happen. And handing out. Or pre-positioned pallets of bricks.
Oh, that's the right. Yeah.
Is that happening this time too?
Yes.
Because that happened during the BLM riot.
Yeah,
did?
they're doing it again.
Was that somebody that was delivering to Home Depot and got lost? Right?
Yeah.
It's not the case. So
No.
But
So
I think
we
the Dems
see-
on this are on the wrong side of it, and I think it's
Again.
going to be in the midterms coming up. This is going to backlash against the Democrats in a
We
huge
see
way.
pallets of bricks this time around.
Yep.
So that's new to me.
Yep.
We saw people handing out gas masks, brand new gas
Right.
masks in boxes, right?
Yes.
And so they're handing out hundreds of gas masks because they anticipate being tear gassed. Now, if you don't anticipate being tear gassed and you don't intend to do anything that would require you to be tear gassed, then why do you need right?
gas mask, right.
If you're going to peacefully march, then why do you need a gas mask?
Yeah.
But they're passing them out to the protesters, so somebody's paying for that, and those things are not cheap. These are state of the art.
Yeah.
Those things are not cheap, and someone is passing out flags,
American flag.
American flags, because there's too many people waving the Mexican flag. And that's sending the wrong message. Hey, if you're so proud of your Mexican heritage, then go back. Now, I was in San Diego in January, and they were having some of these protests. And my cab driver, who was Mexican, would drive by these protests, and he says, I don't understand why they're carrying the Mexican flag. If they want to stay in the United States, they need to be proud of the United States. They need to indicate that they want to be part of the United States, and they need to be waving the American flag. And now, this was a Mexican immigrant telling me this on the border at Mexico, right,
Yeah.
in San Diego.
Yeah.
So now somebody's passing out American flags, and you can see, if you go and you look at the pictures, they all have creases in them. So the people waving the American flag literally just pulled it out of a package.
Right.
They forgot to iron it out. And then they started burning the American flag, which is totally antithetical to what they were told to do. And that is wave the American flag so that you can win back the American populace.
Right.
Stop waving the Mexican flag. Stop burning the American flag. Those are the things that are going to make it worse for you. And back to this business is they're doubling down. It's like we can actually tell them, wave the American flag and stop looting and burning, and people will listen. But you're not. No one's paying attention to what we're telling you is going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, protests in the past weren't about turning over cars and lighting buildings on fire, and
They were using their phones to call the those driverless cabs.
Oh, right.
Right? So they would use their phones, they would call a driverless cab. This was just this weekend.
Yeah, to block.
And then once the driverless cab showed up, they surrounded it and burned it.
Oh, that was that line of cars that were
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they were literally, and they figure, oh well, we're calling a driverless cab, so we're not really hurting anybody.
Right.
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 You know what would be interesting if they dropped the three of us in the middle of LA and you go up to a group of people and say, what is it that you're protesting?
Right.
Just tell me what it is that you're protesting.
Well, they were interviewing folks last night, and most of them were saying, well, we just want to loot the stores. Like, they were literally saying, we're just here
To loot.
to loot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what ICE is doing is, and you have to understand, after 4 years of unvetted people coming into this country,
Right.
and now ICE is going after these are not this guy whose parents are here or the kid's parents are here, works at Home Depot, is doing everything according to Hoyle. That is not who ICE, that's what they want you to believe, that they're just
Right.
going
Not,
and taking
not a
it.
single one of them is just somebody who wandered across the border.
That's right.
And just wanted a better life. Every single one of them has a criminal
Record.
record
Yep.
and is here for illegal activity,
Yep.
drugs, trafficking, human trafficking.
Right.
Every single one of the ones that ICE is arresting, they're going into the courthouses
Yeah.
because these people have court dates.
Sure.
So you're here for your court date? Never mind. We're just going to get rid of you now. No court for you. Right?
Unless you have a judge that sneaks them out the back door.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
those judges
Yeah.
are finding out that judges are not above the law. either.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was this, I saw tonight, this young man was pulled in by ICE, a young kid, a high school kid from Massachusetts. And they talked to him, they interviewed him after, and he said they made a mistake. I love this country. And
I've seen 3 or 4 stories
yeah,
like that.
and
where
this was
people
a
say,
kid who said,
"Yeah,
that can happen, I understand that. And I'm not, it wasn't the greatest place to be,
Right.
but it's been resolved, and I'm looking forward to the future in this country. The kid was maybe 16.
Sure.
And just the way he
Right.
spoke, I'm thinking, wow, I mean, we need to hear
Right.
more of that.
You hear that time and time again from legal immigrants.
Right.
Republicans are not against immigration. We
No,
are here
right.
for
Or we wouldn't be here.
Right.
We're,
Right.
exactly. But you hear it time and time again from legal immigrants. They want people to come from their country
Yep.
legally.
Yep.
And they'll say, hey, this person's from my country, but if they're here illegally, I want them to go and do it the right way, the
Right.
way I did it.
That's right.
Yeah, and I saw.
And they say it time and time again.
That's true. That's
There
so
was
true.
a woman trying to go to work this afternoon and was being stopped by the protesters, and she said, "You don't understand. I have to get in there to go to work."
Right.
And they were miserable to her. She got through without getting, killed.
Right,
But
right.
it was terrible to even hear that. This is a woman who's trying to make a living, a legal immigrant, trying to
Right.
make a living, trying to get to work, and they're being stopped by these people
Right.
who,
See, but that's the narrative they want to produce, meaning the Democrats, right? The far left. That's what
Right.
they want here. They want to hear that it's every person that's here that's not a U.S. citizen wants to be deported.
Right.
And and the mainstream media perpetuates that. Whether you look at CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, it's almost like they all handed the same script card.
Oh, yeah.
And we need, and slowly but surely, and that's why I think you saw such a pushback from young Latino men in this last election,
Yep.
young black men in this last election. They said, we've been listening to this rhetoric for so long, and the truth of the matter is, it's the antithesis of that,
Yeah.
right? There are ways to come into this country, and people conflate asylum and immigration. Those are two separate entities, right? And they just want to mix it all into
Yes,
one.
yeah.
So, there's a process to come.
They're training people
Absolutely.
to ask for asylum.
For asylum.
Yes, right, right.
Which is done by the State Department, right? Asylums are determined by a State Department. And so until they vet that person, it's really funny. I hear these people say, well, you got a court date in 18 months.
Right.
Sure.
I'll show up.
I'll be back. It's not going to happen.
No.
And so when you've had such an open border for so long, the measures you have to take have to be draconian, right? Because
Yes.
there's so many people you have to get. And God love Tom Homan, right?
God.
I got to tell you, that, and he's a no BS kind of guy, right? He's got
Yeah.
a job. There's laws. We're not asking for anything new. We're just enforcing the laws that are on the books right now, which the
Exactly.
previous administration chose not to.
Yeah.
So
Chose to ignore it.
chose to ignore it, right? And so now this is the net result, but nobody wants to go back. The hypocrisy. I can't believe that they say that in TV, and I'm like, are you listening to yourselves?
What did the one commentator say there? Oh, well, they're just having fun watching cars burn.
Yeah.
Would it be fun if they were watching your car burn?
Yeah.
What? Where are they getting
Right.
this?
They even kind of compared it to if Boston won the World Series, and so there's a big party downtown. That's
No,
all this
Boston
is.
doesn't tear their city apart the way Philadelphia does.
That's true. That's true.
Philadelphia burns their own city down in celebration.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the worst fans.
Philly?
Philly.
Oh, yeah.
Philly are the worst.
So
Yeah.
talking about baseball,
Yes.
I've been hearing about Roman Anthony, and he's going to be the savior of the Red Sox. And my wife's a huge baseball fan. She's
Right.
from Chicago. She's a Cubs fan. She was ticked off today that PCA didn't play their best player. They sat him down. He needed a rest, they said. Because what they're doing is they're putting younger players. Well, he's young. He's like 21 or 22.
Right.
But they're putting people in that they're not sure are going to make the team. And they know he's going to be with them.
Right.
And they're kind of testing them.
Evaluating them.
Yeah,
and
evaluating them.
Yeah.
So the other night, and I'm sure you watched the game too, because Roman Anthony was brought up and everything was going to be great. And the first thing he did was let a ball go under his glove in right field. And then
it's memorable.
He didn't hit the ball very well. I think he struck out. Yeah.
Bill Buckner.
Oh no, don't even go there, please. Oh my God. So anyway, but last night he got a double, drove in 2 runs, and he made an awesome catch.
Yes.
You know, one of these diving catches.
Yeah.
The best catch I've seen all year, though, is the guy that went literally over the wall.
That kid from Oakland.
The kid from Oakland, and pulled it back
They're
in.
like
It was
Spider-Man. You know, how they climb the wall. It's unbelievable.
So I don't know what they're going to say now. I love to watch the Boston fans because it's always we. They think they own the team.
Right.
You know, it's like, we need to sell the team. I hear that all the time. Who are you going to? You're going to sell the team. Okay, good.
did you
Good
see
for
the-
you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You see the Angels fan? It was a couple days ago. He had a green shirt on, the
Okay.
Anaheim Angels or whatever they're called now. He said "sell" on it,
Sell it.
and he was sitting right behind where the commentators were, so you could see him, and he's saying so because he's upset with the team.
Yeah, everybody
And
wants
so-
to sell the team.
and so, exactly. So while they're doing that, security comes up, and you could see behind the commentator security talking to the guy.
Bad
But
press.
no.
It's
Well,
bad
like,
publicity.
you know, it's,
as far as I know, the only major league team that the fans can choose to sell or not is the Green Bay Packers.
Correct.
They're the
Well,
fa-
they're the- yeah,
they're
they
the
own it.
fan-owned
They
team,
own it.
right?
Yeah.
So
maybe we ought to do
so
more than that.
maybe the fans have something to say there. They can say sell.
And it's just like when, well, I'm really happy with this. Marshawn got traded to the Panthers, and he's doing great. He's breaking all kinds of records and stuff.
It's not great that the Panthers are winning, but
I-
I'm happy to see Marchand going
Well,
for the
here's
Stanley
what I think
Cup.
happened. Here's what I think happened. Everybody said, well, they were really mean to him. They traded him. No, they sat him down and said, look, you're not going anywhere here. We're rebuilding our team, but we can make a trade with you to put you on a team that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. And I really believe that's what they did.
Yeah.
Because he's going to come back, sign a one-day contract,
And retire.
and
as a Brit.
retire as
Ray
yeah.
Bork
He'll-
did
he'll-
it.
he'll
Remember
always-
they
Ray Bork
traded
did it.
Ray
Yeah.
Bork to
Yeah,
the
they
Colorado Avalanche, and he won a cup.
Exactly.
So-
exactly. So,
yeah.
but I love he's such a pest. I mean, they hated him. They hated him
yeah.
down there.
Oh, yeah.
So
Now
the
they-
funny thing was the other night, we're going to touch a sports show, but the other night the other players were shooting rats at him that they throw on the ice, and he was like, he's doing this.
Well, you know, the thing about in Boston, I didn't realize that they set up the trade. The further Florida went into the playoffs, the higher draft pick Boston would get.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
go through this
Smart
first round.
move.
So
Good,
it was in the best interest for Marchand
Absolutely.
and for the Bruins for them to go as far. Now he's
Yep.
in the Stanley Cup
Yep.
Finals,
Yep.
and now there was either like a second round pick, then a first round pick. So the trade was dependent on how far they went into the
exactly.
playoffs.
Which
there
was
was a
smart.
few
Yeah.
trades there. Some good Bruins
Carlo
players.
went,
Carlo. Yeah, there were some good some trades there that I wasn't thrilled about. I mean, because these are some of our best players.
Yeah. Our
But
best
when
player.
you read
Yeah,
but when you read the terms, just like
Right.
you said,
Yeah.
we're getting some really good draft
Picks.
picks,
Oh,
yeah.
and a couple of the young guys that we picked up are actually doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
towards the end of the season.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
hopefully we get a good off season. We train these guys and we turn it around next season.
Yeah, I
'cause
mean, I love
this year wasn't
I used to
fabulous.
hate Bennett from the
From Florida.
Panthers.
Well, yeah.
But last night was pretty cool. Not only did he check one guy into the boards,
Oh,
he kept
he
skating
did two.
and hit him.
Yeah,
double.
that,
did he
that was,
really?
it was a double check.
Oh, yeah,
like within 5 feet, he goes, and then the puck went to the next guy. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I got you too."
my God, yeah.
He didn't slow down at all.
Florida's
So it was
amazing.
fun.
They're just like, a good friend of mine calls it that they play heavy, meaning they're always on you. They're
Yeah,
always
they're-
in your zone.
Yeah.
You just don't have a time to break.
It's
it.
like they have all Marshands on their team.
Right. Oh,
What'd you think about all the ejections? ejections the other night.
Oh my God, 140 minutes in penalties,
Holy
was it?
cow, that was a lot.
Yeah. Oh,
That was, they were really going at it in the third
Well,
quarter.
I think,
third period.
the Oilers got frustrated.
They did.
No
Yeah.
question about it. And
At one
they
point,
took
I
them
was.
out of the game.
At one point, I counted. It was like 5 minutes to go,
And they're all on the ground
counted.
fighting.
I counted the Oilers bench.
Yeah.
There were the 5 on the field or on the ice.
Yeah.
And there was only 6 guys. Like
That's
they,
it.
they only had.
And lost a whole line.
Yeah, they lost an entire line. They only had 6 guys left because they all got ejected.
And I think you're right, PJ. I think they got into their heads.
Yep.
Oh, they
right?
did.
And so
yeah.
that's it.
They forgot how to play.
And guess what they're going to do tonight?
Oh yeah.
thing.
The Panthers are going
Or
to do
tomorrow night.
everything they can. No, I think it's tonight.
No,
Oh no, it's
basketball's
Thursday.
tonight.
You're
The
right.
Pacers
Pacers,
tonight.
yeah.
They're going to do everything they can to get back into the Oilers' heads.
Oh yeah.
And
it
I-
won't take long.
Oh yeah.
No, right, and they're relentless, right?
Oh,
and they
yeah.
score early, and it's just they're playing their brand of hockey right now.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
But I'm really actually pulling for the Oilers because I like Connor McDavid.
Well,
I think
yeah.
that guy on skates is like a magician.
Yeah,
how
he's
he
unreal.
skates, he's unreal.
But
And-
they even took him out. I mean, he didn't do much of anything.
Yeah.
Because they got in his head too, and he changed his style.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, that's
they put a body on you, and that's it. It's all over,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're
So
big kids.
The next game is
tomorrow night.
I think it's tomorrow night.
that's game 4, right? So we're,
Yes.
we're still in Miami.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
no, Sunrise,
Well-
which is right near Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale, Miami. It's
Florida.
the same. It's the same darn airport.
I lived in.
I fly into Miami, I can go see a Panthers game. It's the same airport.
But yeah, it's crazy though. Whoever thought we'd be rooting or watching teams play hockey in warm weather
Right.
states?
Yeah. Right.
Florida, Texas,
Carolina.
Carolina. I mean,
Yep.
come on, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we should probably sell our team then. I mean, maybe that's what we need
No,
to do.
I mean they're the original 6, right? I mean
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
they'll never do that.
But you know what? Gretzky predicted the first week of hockey. He predicted the Oilers would be in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, did he?
And the other guys were going, "Oh, come on!" You know, Saban and those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Oh, come on! You got to be kidding! They can't possibly be. He said they will be in the Stanley Cup.
Unbelievable.
So he made that prediction in the beginning of the year. You know?
Well, I
It's
think
like-
he's got an affinity for the Oilers in his
You
heart,
think?
right? You think?
A little bit.
So that was, yeah. I just thought we'd kind of divert a little, but
But just back to the baseball and selling teams, right?
Yeah.
You look at ownerships right now, and the days of a George Steinbrenner, the days of who was one that owned the Reds, the woman Maud. Anyway, they wanted to win, right? Today, it's the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you're losing but still generating revenue,
Oh yeah.
they don't care.
If
No,
the
they
stadium's still
Right.
sold out and
That's
people
right.
are still buying
Still-
jerseys.
that's right, right. So what if you're in the
like the
cellar?
new jerseys, those new green jerseys, I thought nobody would buy them. I watched the game the other night. It's like half of the
Oh, that's
place
the new
has 'em.
thing, and you see it over at the Fisher
Which
Cats all the
green?
time.
They have green uniform, the City Connect uniform.
Yeah.
This isn't the blue
Boston-
and yellow
no.
Boston Strong ones.
No,
are
no,
they?
no,
No,
This
they
is
got
a new
green
one.
ones this
They have a
year,
new
yeah.
one because they have to raise some more money because
Right.
everybody bought the yellow one.
So they always,
now-
have, you know, it seems like there's more and more every season. You
Yep.
get your special jersey night,
And
that's it's all about selling new jerseys.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta have the black and white Marchand jersey. I have to have the white and black Marchand jersey,
Yeah.
and then I have to have all of the special throwback jerseys. Right?
The one with the
That's
bear
right.
on it.
Yeah.
But
That's
you know,
true.
if you
But-
look at those stadiums, and I don't care what stadium, whether it be football, basketball, and just figure that each jersey is $100.
Sure.
And they're more than that. They're
Yep.
like 200
Right. Yep.
bucks. And you can do a
And
quick
climbing.
count of, you know, not, but just take a guess.
Yeah.
The money they generated with that is
Oh,
incredible.
never mind the
Yeah.
$10
It's
beers.
incredible.
Oh, I know.
Well, I mean, even the Fisher Cats here. Don and I went to, we used to get like 5 or 6 games.
Sure.
We went this past year and gave the guy the card. You know, it doesn't matter where you sit. You know, I said, I'd like to sit such and such, and the person took the card. And I signed it, and I didn't even look at it. I looked at the receipt, $42 to watch a terrible team play because they haven't been good since they won the Northeast Region Champions,
Right.
which
What
we
was
went
that?
to.
Season 3 or 4? Or
No, it was about 3
was
or 4
early
years ago.
on,
It was about 3 or
yeah.
4 years ago. But anyway, it's annoying because being a senior and having a fixed income, you know, I'd like to go to more baseball games, but I'm not going to spend $40 to see a AA team play.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
I want hockey back in Manchester.
I do too. I was really sad when
I was
the
I was at darn near every Monarchs game.
You were the guy behind us throwing things.
I loved to go
and that
to
was
Monarchs
high-level hockey.
games.
It was.
Yes.
Right.
That
But
was
then
good.
then they castrated it by bringing it down a level.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Because they were the farm team for the LA Kings.
Yep.
Right.
And they moved them back out to LA,
Yep.
and then we got a whatever it is, a AAA team, right, instead of a AA team or whatever, and it was one level below that,
Yeah.
and we called them the Monarchs still, but
Yeah,
they weren't.
they
we didn't-
weren't.
They didn't really have an
You can,
was
go
that caliber.
to, you can go to
Yeah.
college hockey and see better games.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the
I
college
always
hockey
thought,
is
like,
great.
especially even here in New Hampshire, I always
Oh,
thought.
yeah.
So I go to a college game. That is some good hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then one year I went to a state championship game for high school, and those guys, they beat the heck out of each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like the further down you go, the more they fight and the more intense the playing is, right? And
Really?
and the parents
Yeah.
get into it. Yeah, no. The state high school hockey championship that year was off the hook. I loved
Yeah.
it.
And you got tons of great college hockey in Boston and UNH.
Yes.
Right. I mean, so
Yeah.
pick a school.
Yeah,
Any school.
no,
right.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And a lot of these kids, I'm doing a lot at New England College and with the sports, with the athletic teams there, and a lot of the kids play in the juniors. So you're getting kids from Poland,
Yep.
from Sweden, from Finland, playing in a, they play double. No, it's not. It's 2D. I think they're playing in for hockey, 3D and everything else.
Right.
Might be wrong, but they're getting. They're playing. God, I just went blank. What's it? Norwich? They're playing Norwich. They're playing, teams that are huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're winning.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really kind of nice because they're starting these kids young too.
Yeah.
You can see more of that going
like
on.
that
but-
ESPN commercial.
The what?
The ESPN commercial where the two guys are
Oh, yeah.
watching
You better
hockey.
send- you better-
he
better
says,
send him
"You
a
got him
copy."
on skates yet?"
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"He's,
yeah, the
he's
guy-
6 months old." I guess you better stay for college.
Yes, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Yeah. No, we do have good sports here, though. For a small state, it's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, coming from Connecticut, it's a large state. I, grew up right near New York City, so sports were really big, and you got good coverage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the players that are like Tom Seaver, lived in Greenwich. I would see him on, when I was doing newspaper boy stuff, I'd see him on the avenue. So he'd stop and talk to you, and it was really cool having all these players there. And you don't expect it here. And the thing that's amazing to me is that we have really good pitchers that have come out of here.
Tommy Glavine
Exactly.
from Bill Ricca.
Yeah. And the season is like 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's very
And
short.
it's amazing how many
Yeah.
players they get out of here.
Well, this kid out of Duke this past year, Cooper Flagg.
Oh, Cooper
right?
Flagg, Maine.
Was from Maine.
Yeah.
Then they
Yeah,
went to,
actually,
went to the.
he's from Palmyra. I was in Palmyra this weekend.
Really?
And
Yeah.
I was in the convenience store. I was in the butcher shop, and they had all of his newspaper clippings up.
Oh, yeah.
Cooper Flagg. Yeah.
I mean, then he went down to that IMG Academy or whatever in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Because he's touted as this phenom.
Right.
And look at him, right? He's
know.
the #1 draft pick out of the NBA.
Yep.
He did well. So, and he's from Maine. Maine.
I know.
Nothing against Maine.
I agree. We need to get a hockey team back at the SNHU arena.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that'd
think
be
that
great.
I
would-
wonder if they're like looking for one. Like, 'cause
Well, if we're going to
I
sell
just
a
can't-
team, we should buy that one.
I just can't
Buy the hockey
imagine
team and put
that
it
it
here.
wasn't profitable. I mean, because it was packed every time I went.
10, 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was exciting.
Yeah,
Right?
well,
And it's in our backyard. That was
Yeah.
the best part.
And I think, who did the announcing? Was that Ken Kale?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Ken. But anyway, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then they even won their league championship a
Yes.
couple times
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah, you could follow those players.
Correct.
And the same
Correct.
thing, if you go to the Fisher Cat games, a lot of those guys,
They
when
go
it was
to
owned by
Toronto.
Toronto,
Yeah.
Right.
you had their whole infield played
Right,
here.
right,
And that was really good baseball, and you could buy a ticket for $12 and sit anywhere you want.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
we
for
could
the
afford to
first-
go.
I don't know, for the first 5 seasons or so at the new stadium, because they started up over off of Valley Street.
Right.
But for the first few seasons at the new stadium over here, I had Saturday season tickets. So I had tickets to every Saturday game.
wow.
Nice.
And I collected a bucket of foul balls. I had more foul balls I can do it. So if I catch one, I'm like, hey, I'll find a kid nearby. But because that's just where I sat, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was.
But it is getting more and more expensive.
Yeah, it is. And there's no need for it.
The
because-
ticket and the food, it's just.
I mean, I try to add up a family of 4 going to the Red Sox game.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
Eat
I
before you
went
go.
to one Bruins game this year, and it darn near broke us, right? I mean, it was $450 a ticket.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I wasn't sitting in the nosebleeds, but I wasn't sitting
On
on
the
the
ice.
glass either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Are you one of those guys that bang on the glass?
I would if I was there because I used to do it at the Monarchs.
Did you? How did that start? How did that start?
Oh, the
Why
first
would you
time-
bang on the glass?
The first time I took my wife and somebody got checked right in the glass in front of us, she just,
Oh, no.
and you're banging on the glass, right?
she's like, what was that? And I'm like, that's hockey.
Yeah, that is hockey. Yeah. I think hockey is one of those sports that it's better in person
Oh, yeah.
versus a football or baseball game.
Yeah.
Even though I love going to those, hockey's there's so much stuff happening away from the puck.
Yeah.
That you don't see, or the noise and the click clack of the puck hitting
Yeah.
the stick. It's amazing to see it there in person.
So we covered most sports.
Yeah, we did.
Now it's just the sport of politics.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's congressional
So
races.
Congressional races. What? I mean, we have to win one of these days. The last time we won one, I think, was
Frank Ginta.
Frank Ginta. Yeah.
CD1.
And they
Yeah.
kept switching, right?
Yeah,
Carol K.
Shea
Porter,
Porter,
and then
yeah.
Frank Ginta,
Yep.
and then.
So we got CD1 open now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
'cause Pat
So that's a seat that we have
Could.
won
Yes.
Yes.
in the past.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we've got a chance. If we get the right person, what do we need? We need name recognition.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we need
Money.
Yep.
someone who
Can raise money.
raise the money from the national.
Right. Right.
Folks
Look,
as well.
look, I can tell you from experience, it's tough to raise money in this state.
Yeah.
It just is.
Sure
It's
it is.
just the nature of the beast. It's what it is, right? So you have to look for outside help to do
Sure
that.
you do.
And because our primary's so late, even though there's discussions
Well,
of
now, yeah, it looks like they passed it though to move it
hopefully
up.
to be signed, right?
Yeah, to be signed, but they don't know which year now.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
'Cause
It's-
is
it's-
it next term? Or
Well,
are
they're
they gonna
saying
hold
two-
it back for the next term.
Next president's
Yeah.
It
race.
might be the presidential race.
I
The-
think
the
so.
problem is when our primary is in September, right? And whoever comes out winning the primary,
Has 2 months.
you only have 8 weeks. That's it, and you're exhausted. Not only physically, but your accounts are depleted. There's nothing. So now you got 8 weeks to try and go back to the same people that you
Ask
asked for
for more
money,
money.
to win the primary, and to try and go up. In my case, up against an
And the
incumbent.
incumbents love it.
Of course they do. The later the
But-
primary, the better for the incumbent.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but wouldn't it be better to do it now because we've got an open Senate seat and an open CD1 seat,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other Senate seat is not up at the moment.
Nope.
And so there's only one race where an incumbent can benefit from the current system.
That's
But
good,
they're
Lander.
CD2.
But
Yeah.
there's 2 races where the new people can all benefit from adjusting this right now.
Correct.
I think this is the best time to
I
do it
agree.
and to do it this time
Yeah.
around. Because if you wait till next time around, you're going to have incumbents and they're going to say, no, we don't want it moved,
That's right.
right?
That is absolutely correct.
But if you're going to move it and give somebody an advantage or give both sides an advantage
Now's
this time
the-
around,
now's a
it's-
target of opportunity.
Right now
It
is
is.
time to do it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
need
yeah.
to.
And it's going to be tough, So you got a one-term incumbent in CD2, who they won that open seat, which was another issue. We didn't really do as well as we should have in CD2.
No.
And there, there's just talk and mumblings, below the surface that there's some people that just want to give up on CD2 to say that it's a lost cause.
Yep.
And then to look at CD1, and then by looking at CD1, redistrict as well, so to be able to make CD1 a super
Yep.
Republican district, and just say, okay,
We'll give them that one.
We'll give you that one, and just have 50-50
I know.
in. I don't necessarily
like
buy into that. I
but
don't either.
But I definitely do see the the attitude you say, where there's some folks who are like, okay, we're not going to worry about CD2 right now.
Correct.
We're going to concentrate here,
Yep.
Yep.
and we're going to let CD2 do its thing. We're going to, whoever's going to be the Republican primary over there, we're going to hang them out to dry.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and I think we've done that too many years in a row now.
It's
Yeah, we
it's
have.
fun. It's almost sacrificial metal.
I mean, some folks don't particularly like Lily, but she's there
Yep.
and she's consistent. And if she's gonna be there next time around, then we need to throw her a bone
And help her, absolutely.
I
It's-
mean,
yes, I couldn't agree with you more.
She's a nice person. She's got her head in the right place.
Yep.
She's been on the show a few times. Admittedly, she doesn't have as much of the name recognition over here.
Right.
And admittedly, she doesn't have the really, really strong presence in a debate. But the last debate I watched with her, I mean, if you take out the presence part, she nailed it. She nailed Maggie on everything. But money won.
Right.
Right? Like, I think we need to put some support behind her. If she's going to be the nominee, don't just say, well, she doesn't really have the gravitas to win or anything like that. Stop that.
Yeah.
Right? If she's the only one we got over there, then put something behind
to
her.
Steve's point, it's hard raising money in New Hampshire.
It is.
So if you don't have the outside support,
She's starting to
it's
get
not-
it. She's
it's not
she's
gonna
doing a lot of
happen.
traveling down to
She is.
Washington.
She's down there
other
and she's
places.
speaking and those kind
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
She's
Uh,
starting to earn it. So,
Yeah.
and
Well,
like I said,
hopefully
if she's going to be there and she's going to keep fighting, then I think we should put something behind her.
I think it's a tough district for her
Yeah.
because it's not nearly as conservative as it needs to be.
No,
And that's-
because we got all of those Vermont border towns out there.
That kills you, right?
Claremont,
That Connecticut-
Keene,
that-
Yeah,
You know, you go up north. It's all the Vermont towns out there. You know, it's that influence from the blue Vermont.
Oh yeah,
is-
without a doubt. So when you looked at the demographics of CD2 and you looked at, how could you win CD2? You're not going to win Dartmouth, right? Because
Nope.
that's a stronghold. You're going to have some play up in Coos County, up in the north,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But it's so little populated.
I was just
right?
going to say, very little
So
vote.
you needed to do strong in towns like Nashua. You needed to do strong in towns like Hudson, Salem,
you need-
Atkinson.
you
So
need
it was
Keene
the
State
L down
College,
here.
too.
And
Yep.
we sometimes look George.
I was just gonna
George
say.
won right out in
Yeah.
Keene,
Yeah.
as a moderate Republican, but he won
Yeah.
right out there. So it isn't insurmountable, right? The problem is Roger Wilkins, who was my GC, said 3 things to win a campaign. Number 1, you need money. Number 2, you need the right message, and number 3, you need the right candidate. Right? Those 3 things, and you got yourself a puncher's chance of winning, depending whether it's an incumbent or not. And so one doesn't lift up the other. You can have all the money in the world, but have bad messaging, or you can have good messaging and all the money in the world, but a bad candidate, and it falls apart on you. So
Yeah.
you got to try and thread that needle. There is a belief within our state that somehow along the seacoast and along CD1, that there's more of a potential of grabbing Republicans and bringing them out to vote, right? In that, and it's easier. And people don't like it when I say it, but I don't care. It's easier to campaign in CD1. Just is, right? I can do CD1 in a day. I
Yeah,
can go
right.
right. So CD2 just geographically
It's
is
a killer.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so we all know, right? Retail politics in New Hampshire, you got to talk to people 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And it gets very difficult
It
to do
does.
that when you go all the way up Vermont, all the way to Canada. Right? It's just hard.
Yeah.
So, not crying over spilled milk, but could we do better in CD2? I absolutely believe. I absolutely, in my heart of hearts, believe we can. But it's going to take some work. To your point, it's going to take some people, and if Lily's the person, it's going to be some people backing her, right?
Right.
And you can't just.
I just don't want to
Give up on
abandon
CD2.
it. That's it. I don't.
Well,
I don't want to give up.
I don't want to either. I live in CD2.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but it's the shiny object over there in CD1 right now.
Right.
So Roger Wilkins is going to be back here in the States next week.
He's ready here.
Yeah, he's going. Oh, you already know. He's going to go to Henniker Brewery on about 20
He
on that next show. So I won't
3
be
days
there.
ago, 4 days ago, he was
Yeah,
in
he was
LA.
he was
and now
in
he's
LA.
on his way. Yeah, I haven't seen him in 5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because he went to Australia
To be
'cause
close with his kids.
Absolutely. My hat's off to him, man.
Yeah, me too.
You know, when we first met back in 17, I said, he goes, I only got one request. I'm like, what? He goes, there are times I'm going to have to go back to Australia. I'm like, you got a phone? Yeah. You got a laptop? Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'm a family guy. At the end of the day, all this political stuff is fun, but if you don't take care of the stuff that's important, right, then you're going to be a lonely, lonely man. So
Yeah.
Roger did that, and he went back, and he had to be there so many times. It was just, we counted the days that he was here before he had to go back, and then he got hit in 20 with COVID.
Yeah.
And he had 2 weeks quarantine here, 2 weeks quarantine in Hawaii, 2 weeks quarantine in. Oh, it was beautiful.
brutal.
God love him. So
Yeah.
now I can pop a beer with him and say, you made it.
Yeah,
Right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. But we have an opportunity, Tupo. We have an opportunity this time around with 2 open seats to do something. But we got to be committed to do it, right? And we can't have infighting. You know, again, you don't want to clear the field. I believe in competition, right? But if there's a stalking horse out there that's clearly going to be the one, then let's get behind that one, right?
Yeah.
Now, you have a right to pay your nickel and, you know, put out your sign and run. I get that. But at the end of the day, is that a detraction from the ultimate goal, which is
To win
winning
the
that
seat.
seat
Yeah.
and putting a conservative in Congress or in the Senate?
Yeah, you're right though. We eat our own. I mean, it's incredible.
It is.
And we do it all the time. We've talked about that plenty of times on
so,
here.
I mean, the Democrats have got this down to a science, right?
Correct.
Once they get up to near the end of primary season, they've basically convinced all the other candidates to capitulate.
Yes, sir.
And so that they can put all their money and all their backing behind one person. But we don't do that as well.
No.
We do the infighting all the way up to the end.
Yes.
I mean, and we see it in the presidential races too. We did that with, well, really the last 3. You know, the first time Trump was elected, we had what, 16 in the field?
Yeah, 17. Yeah, 17.
Right,
in the field.
and,
Yep.
Right.
and nobody wanted to give, right? And this happened this next time around too. You know, we had folks like Nikki Haley and oh my Lord, Governor of Florida.
DeSantis.
DeSantis just staying into the end,
Yep.
right? And you're really pushing your luck there when we're not clearly behind a single candidate.
That's
and,
true.
and the candidates that are still staying in are taking up a third of the votes. Right,
Yep.
we're really hurting ourselves by going that deep into primary season without a clear somebody breaking
Right.
out. Right, we need a
Absolutely.
secretariat to be 30 links ahead.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the time we get to primary season,
Yeah.
because now we know who we're going to be
Correct.
backing.
Yeah.
We can't be fighting until the end.
You know, what I've come to realize is that did I want to win? Of course I wanted to win. But what's more important, me winning or getting a Republican in that seat? Right? That's the end goal.
It is.
Right? And so, you know, sometimes you may have to hold your nose, but you know that a moderate Republican in the Senate is better vote-wise than a moderate Democrat in the
exactly.
Senate. So
Yeah.
when you want to look at things
I
across
don't
the board,
know. We got a moderate Republican up in Maine that I'm not too thrilled
she's
about.
a little R, translucent, maybe pink, not necessarily red. But
I'm not-
You're right. Right. You know, but you have you at least have a fighting chance with with the majority in the Senate, right?
Yeah.
I love the House. I believe the House is the people's house, right? To do the bidding of the everyday person. But the Senate is where the power
Absolutely.
lies, right? And if you have 51. Right, then you can affect change to do that, but you got to get to 51.
Yes.
Right? So, and I think that Shaheen and the Dems are going to be all out to fill that with
yeah.
Pappas.
And
Forget about
Shaheen's
it.
going to be out there with whoever it is that she anoints as her successor.
Yep.
She's going to be out there campaigning.
Sure she is.
Oh yeah, she has to, and the money train that goes along with it.
Oh yeah, all of
Right.
her money's going to it.
It's going
Yeah.
to that, right? So, will it be Pappas? Probably Pappas. But you look at her daughter, Shaheen's daughter. That's
Stephanie.
Stephanie is going to CD1.
Yep.
Name rec is great, but if you stumble,
Which she has already.
She has already.
Yep.
It isn't just a given.
Well,
Right.
she was asked a simple question to answer yes or no. Do you believe that that biological males should be allowed to play in women's sports? She didn't answer it. She said, well, we have to take each case individually. And I'm thinking, what? Individually?
Yeah.
And even Adam tried to, because it started with Jack Keith. He got into that with her, and she kind of danced around. So Adam had her on, and she didn't answer it there either. And Adam pushed her on it, which is Adam Sexton, which isn't what he does all the time.
Yeah.
But and she couldn't answer the question.
This needs to be a learning experience for Democrats in general. But if you're a Democrat and you're running for office and somebody asks you that question and you get wishy-washy on it like that,
you're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if she didn't learn her lesson yet, she should be learning the lesson. So somebody should ask her that question again.
Oh, I'm sure it'll ask her.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it needs to be yes or no. Right?
Yeah, it's a simple question.
It's a one-word answer.
Yep.
And what that shows to me, that demonstrates to me is that somebody's pulling a string somewhere. Right? Because she knows. They all know. They all know the answer.
Well, that's the other side of it. I say it all the time. People are like, oh, that person, he's stupid, or they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, no.
Yeah, they really know what
They
they're doing.
don't get to that position.
Yep.
They don't get to that station in life by being stupid, right? They are deliberately gaslighting you with their answer, or they're deliberately going the other way.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason for it. Somebody's pulling a string. Somebody's throwing some money at it. Somebody's got them, the goods on them.
Yeah.
So
That's so true. I mean, and you see it.
they're not stupid. They know what they're saying.
Right. But I honestly, I lay in bed.
Except for the girls on The View. They're just stupid.
I got nothing.
But the politicians, they're not stupid.
They're not. They're and I believe once they're in, right, and once the Dem narrative is inside their OODA loop, they can't get out.
Right.
They just can't. It'll be self-suicide.
Yeah.
Politically for them, if they want to say what they truly, truly feel. Even when we were looking at the Senate confirmation hearing for the Supreme Court Justice Brown, if I asked her today at a party, are you a woman?
Right.
Yeah, of course you are. But you couldn't answer that in a judicial Senate hearing, right? Why?
Right.
Because, right? Look, I don't think this country is as divided as they feel. I think there's a small piece. They've got a large mouthpiece with the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Nobody believes that they can't define what a woman is. They can't.
Right.
And I love watching. Who's the guy from Turning Point? Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I love watching some of him on college campuses.
Oh yeah.
It's just a laugh riot.
Right.
Right. And he just eviscerates them.
Right.
And then they look at him like, asshole.
They don't have basic.
They don't.
Like basic geography, basic history.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
How many? I seen him. How many states are in the United States? 52.
Or 54.
Right. Well, the 52 number came from Obama.
Right, exactly. 54 came from Biden.
Oh,
They keep
he was
adding
just
things
adding
on.
people. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen over the next 2 months. What's going on, what's going to happen in LA, what's going to happen over the next couple days.
It's going to be a hot summer, let's face it.
It is.
It
is. But you know what's funny, though, JP, is you look at Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because he deported 3 million.
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
And nobody complained.
And then you see them talking at a State of the Union, whether it was Clinton or Secretary Clinton or Obama, saying the exact.
All of them saying we need to close the border.
Trump is doing it.
They've been doing it for 20
Correct.
years.
Right.
30 years
But were
they've
they
been saying it.
But nobody wants to acknowledge it, and that's the thing
right.
that's just really kind of aggravating.
So one other thing that you'll appreciate too is how many times did we walk into our seats at the State House, and the same protesters had these signs up. They're the same faces that were there 6 years ago. They're the same people.
I know.
And it doesn't matter what that talking about sticking together and backing.
Right.
Those people are there every week.
That's it.
Every single week.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you can stop and talk to them, then they don't know what to do. If you
Right.
actually
That's
stop,
exactly right.
right?
Yeah. I don't know if you were
And if
there
you're
when,
being a nice guy to them, they didn't know how to handle it. You know, so
because everything was always based on confrontation.
Right.
Right.
But if you're like, hey, good morning.
right, exactly.
Good morning.
What's good about the morning?
Yeah.
Right.
It just completely throws them off their game.
Well,
Yeah.
Gary used to grab people and force a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh,
he
no,
would do that
absolutely.
at the State House.
Yep.
But he also did it here in Manchester. So, one year it was during the first Trump presidency. They were having a rally at SNHU, and he was standing in line to
Oh,
go
right,
in.
right, yeah.
But there was a whole bunch of protesters out there. So he went up to the protesters and he says, you know, why don't you come up and stand in line with me and all the other MAGA people? But he got two of them
Sure.
to go up and stand in line with them and just talk like normal human beings.
Right.
No conflict, no
Right.
nothing. And then he got those two people to come on the show with us and say, we didn't know. We didn't know that Republicans were nice people. We thought you were all rude, racist,
Sure.
homophobic, right? And they're at like they are trained. They are literally trained to act this way,
Right.
to be
Regardless of who-
aggressive.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when Gary forced them and convinced them, hey, come and just be surrounded by Republicans and talk to them and find and realize that they are not going to scream at you.
Right.
They're not going to kick you out of the line. No one's going to hurt you.
Right.
In fact, people will protect you for saying what you believe.
Exactly.
Amen.
And,
Absolutely.
And so it happens all the time. But these people that are professional protesters are trained to be nasty. And
Oh,
like
yeah,
you said,
absolutely.
they have no idea how to react when someone says,
Correct.
good morning.
Yeah, it is. That is. I've always said that you get a pack of wolves, right, and you get a wolf mentality. You know, that's what happens. But take one, just take one, and whatever they were saying to that point that Gary did, it's exactly what you see, almost to the person.
Yeah.
And they just don't know how to handle kindness. They don't, right? Because
Yeah.
they're conditioned to think that, well, what? You're not that way? No, we're not. No, we're not.
Exactly.
We're not yelling at people. We're not spitting at people.
Yep.
You know? So,
Well, we'll see what happens tonight, and we'll see what happens this
you mean the
weekend.
basketball game?
Well,
Oh, 'cause you're
basketball game. I'm
Hockey.
thinking riots.
Yeah, that's right.
We are at time, so thank you, Steve, for
Thanks,
Thank
coming.
you
Steve.
so much. No,
Thanks
this
for
was
coming.
great.
It was
Yes,
nice talking
absolutely.
to you again, and
We'll see you next
we'll
week.
see you next week.
Absolutely.